Welcome. We're so excited you're with us today. Welcome to Turning It Up. We are a mommy-daughter team that loves people, and we thrill in finding and sharing ideas, tips, and tools for the everyday person to truly find themselves and live the extraordinary lives they were meant to live. So we think that you are extraordinary. I'm Heather Christensen along with Kiara Bowden, and we are excited you are with us today.
Yes, we are. So just to recap our last video in the playlist, we focus on the importance of using the heart-mind connection and learning how to reprogram our brains through either repetition or hypnosis. So in this video, we actually felt it was really important to pause this process in order for you to be able to understand something that we think is really important. Doing this may not be very comfortable because it really causes you to go deep inside of yourself and be reflective about where you actually are at in your life and where you are headed for in your future.
So she's right. It may not be comfortable, but there are some questions that we need to ask ourselves as we move forward. And going through the process of it and answering the questions honestly actually gives us a great baseline to move forward with.
Yeah. So you ready for these deep questions?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
I
I'm
know
so
you are. I know you are, but I don't know if they are.
excited.
All right. So, if you want to write these down, you totally can. You can pause the video and write them down. But the first one is, do I really know why I am here on this earth? The second one is, am I progressing? The third one is, what is the passion I feel deep down inside of me? That passion that's pulling you, constantly pulling you, but maybe you don't feel good enough to do it. And then the last one is, am I finding fulfillment in my life right now?
So those questions are pretty deep, but they're really important to keep in the front of the mind as we move through the process. And in order to find the answers to those questions, it requires connecting to our creator and that higher mind, I guess you could say. And when we do more meditating, not medicating, meditating,
Some days
and
we feel like medicating with chocolate.
when we do more meditating and connecting to the heart, it opens us up to better hear our creator's voice. And his voice, and I put quotes around that because everyone hears it differently. It's going to be different. So it's through that higher power that we receive those answers in order to follow our dreams and our life purpose.
Yeah. So if you, like we've talked about in our previous video, if you've been taking the time to meditate and slow down for a few minutes a day this week, perhaps you've had the opportunity to hear that voice. If not, don't worry. It's okay. It'll come with practice. It takes a lot of practice sometimes. Um, but today we wanted to take the opportunity to really talk about things that are important to consider in your own life when you are trying to hear and to listen to that voice inside of you. There's quite a bit of things in our everyday life that can actually hinder, if not prevent altogether, your ability to connect to that higher power and find that peace inside of yourself. Um, so as we go through them, keep in mind there's like tons of stuff in this video. I know that it's going to be a little bit overwhelming, but just take it one thing at a time. Some of you might be farther along on the path than others, and if you're just starting out, be patient. Work on one thing at a time, and know that when we're talking about these things, we have these things to work on too all the time. We're not perfect. We're all trying to improve together, right?
True, true, for certain. We are human. And so we want to give each other grace and respect in this journey. But a great way to move forward and not get overwhelmed is through the philosophy of the atomic habit. So James Clear wrote this book called The Atomic Habit, and I'm going to summarize it in one sentence and not give it any kind of justice whatsoever. But the philosophy, yeah, the philosophy is that if you work on something 1% each day, by the end of the year, you will be 37 times better. That's not 37%, but 37 times better. So it's a great read. And if you have a chance, then there are also some YouTube videos on that too. So why don't you go ahead and look that up? And it's kind of inspiring. And I think that we would like to do a video on that in the future.
Yeah, that's a powerful book. A lot of people know that book too.
Yeah. So the things that we are going to list for you today are just some ideas to consider as you're going through the process of really trying to connect to that higher self. And you may give yourself a star for some of the things that we list, and then some things you might need to work on. So one size doesn't fit all. This is just some things that we find that our clients actually are finding barriers as they go through the process.
Yeah, I think something important to mention also is that our creator knows us. He knows you and he knows your weaknesses, he knows your heart, your intentions, and we have found our creator to be so kind and filled with love as we really strive to connect with him and to find out our purpose in this life. And so just know that he wants to help us. He wants to help you and encourage you. And he wants you to be able to feel fulfilled in your life. And he doesn't ask for perfection, just improvement and work. So um, I'm sure that as you move forward, you will find this to be true as well. So on to our list of things that may be hindering us from hearing or connecting to that higher voice. So the first on our list is external voices. Dun dun dun. um, Many times we have a difficult time hearing and connecting to that higher power because we have too many things going on coming at us all day long. So one of those things that I especially notice is social media. Shocker. I
Here
think
we are.
I know. Oh yeah, here we are in social media. Well, I really think that this is a well-known thing nowadays that people understand the negative impact social media can have on them. And I think it's just important to reiterate it for understanding that it is hindering you sometimes. Sometimes it's not because you probably have self-control and I clearly don't. But most of the times I feel like at least once or twice when I'm scrolling on social media that um I will always have some type of negative thought. And it's because I see people who are putting on a show for the world, right? We're seeing the best part of their lives. We are continually comparing ourselves to them and what we think that our standards should be. You know what I mean? Like I've talked about this in last videos, but it's hard to be a mom and to see other moms just like doing it all, have a perfectly clean house and the kids are so happy all the time.
I
And
have to admit, yeah, I have to admit, I'm glad that social media really wasn't a thing when I was raising you girls. I think I would have felt bad about myself all of the time.
yeah, I mean, being a mother is a constant battle. Like,
Mhm.
and some days you're winning and some days you're losing. And that's just how it is. But when you're on social media, you usually only see people winning. And so it's really hard to feel like other people are human as well as yourself. So those negative thoughts though that come to you and those comparison thoughts and stuff, that's something that blocks and puts up a blockade for good things to come into your mind, like the higher power in your higher mind and stuff like that. And then along with social media, you have entertainment, which is pretty much Hollywood's view of what a person is supposed to look like who's successful and happy, right?
Yeah, I've also found that some of the entertainment I see actually affects how I feel in a negative or positive way too. I mean, um, when I watch a movie or something, sometimes I'll just come away from it going, oh, and then I sink, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Some stuff is just really heavy too. It's just not, it shouldn't be entertainment.
And not that there aren't good things out there. I'm not saying don't watch altogether. It's just that we
Sure.
need to be more discerning, on what we're watching.
All right. And so we have social media, entertainment, and along with that is news. I will say that news is a huge one for a lot of people, my husband included. He loves the news because you love to feel involved in what's happening in the world. But I think that, knowledge is power, but to some extent, you gotta kind of focus on yourself and the present moment. And because sometimes if you get wrapped up into that stuff, you can get depressed and angry because there's a lot of sad and bad happening in the world. And I think we're all still trying to recover from the drama and trauma that has recently happened with so many things.
Yeah, we actually have a lot of clients that come in just angry, just really angry, trying to look for some joy and peace again. And a lot of their angry has to do with the news and all of the media that they're looking at about what's going on. So be careful about that. And we encourage them actually to turn it off or limit it to 5 minutes headline reading and just work on something that is purposeful in their own lives that they can control, because we can control mostly what's happening in our little world around us, but not we can't control what's happening in the world. So we encourage people to focus on improving themselves and improving their own lives, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah, and with those 3 things, I think that they all really just go hand in hand because they're all tied together now. Like, social media is news. News is also about things that happen on social media, and entertainment is social media and news as well. Like, everything's political now. It's just all tied together. So, if you find that one of those is really hindering you, it may be good, like, you suggested to cut all those out for a little bit. But another thing that can influence us is neighbors, circles of friends, and expectations of feeling the need to measure up.
Yeah. So I know that I think that circles of friends is always a big thing. We're always looking, are we keeping up with the Joneses, or are we, are we measuring up to somebody else's view of us?
Yeah, for sure. That goes along with the social media thing as well, but that one maybe becomes a little bit more personal because it's people that you deal with in everyday life.
Yeah. When it comes to the social media and the news and things like that, maybe it's a do a week without it and then just see how you feel, and then add things back in, and be discerning about the things that you add back in, because you don't want to be completely disconnected from what's going on. There's wisdom in being a little bit connected, but don't immerse yourself in it and become overwhelmed with it.
Yeah. I think that a lot of power is held in the present moment, like we've talked about in past videos. So if you are learning how to train your brain to focus in the present moment, a lot of those things tend to fall to the wayside. So if you do feel yourself influenced by these external voices a lot, just try to replace it with something better. Find a good uplifting book to read or take up a new hobby. Just take a break from your social circle if you need to and give yourself chance a chance to think in your own brain without everybody else's thoughts flowing through you. Think about what your priorities are.
Yeah, change it up,
Yes.
turn it up.
Ooh.
So next on the list is environmental clutter. What's your home looking like? What are you surrounded?
Favorite. I just so you guys know, I am a chronic throw it awayer is what I call it. I love throwing away things. Or I shouldn't say always. I'm not just throwing them away. I give them and donate stuff, a lot of stuff, but I love getting it out of my house, I should say.
Yeah, so environmental clutter actually has a tendency to be really, really noisy on the senses. And once we simplify and remove it and take it out, it can be a whole lot better for that internal voice. And so if you are struggling with that, this week we challenge you to clean it up, to clean, well, something up, because sometimes a whole house can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
But remember the 1%, the 1%.
Your house too can be 37 times better at the end of the year.
That's right. That's right.
Um, okay, so we talked about external clutter. Let's talk about internal clutter. Um, a lot of times our internal clutter has to do with our external clutter and vice versa. So we're really just talking about the clutter of the heart and clutter of the body. So internal clutter can be pretty heavy at times, and you may not even know that it's going on, but it honestly may be the very thing that is preventing you from connecting to your creator and finding out why you are here. So, mom, what are some forms of internal clutter to help us out over here?
So I find that a type of internal clutter is doing something that I feel I shouldn't be doing. And this goes the other way too. Is there something that I know I need to be doing? And in every one of us, there is a right wrong meter, good bad meter. And for people who say that there's no good or bad or right or wrong, I would disagree. We live in a world of opposites. It's a universal law. For every up, there's a down. For every high, there is a low. For every left, there's a right. White, black, hot, cold, etc. So, is there something that comes to mind when you're wondering if there's something that you're doing that you need to stop, or vice versa? This is a big thing for me.
Yeah. Another thing that could cause internal clutter is like being at odds with somebody. Like if you have a relationship that you're struggling with, why are you struggling with it? Do you even know why you're at odds with that person? Is that constantly on your mind? Is there someone that you need to ask forgiveness for something that you did or make amends with somebody? Or just talk it out, you know, even if it's not your fault? That can always be a really hard conversation to have, but I think that's something that can really weigh heavy on a lot of people's minds. And what goes along with that is being at odds with yourself. Are you mad at yourself? Because I know sometimes I get mad at myself. Um, have you done something that you can't forgive yourself for? Um, take some time to think about that and learn how to forgive yourself and move on.
Yeah. And we can do videos like on this in the future, or a video on this in the future, to go more into detail about how to do that. But, that's something to think about. So that internal clutter can be a lot, but once it's taken care of, it can feel really good and you can focus without worrying. So, as we talked about internal clutter, did something come to mind for you? If so, we challenge you this week to reach out to someone, or kind of be kind to yourself, and let's apply that forgiveness for yourself or other people, and try to mend some relationships. So next on the list is clutter of the body, namely diet, sleep, exercise. I know. We all know that.
Yeah.
So
We all know it, but we do not all do it.
Oh, what kinds of foods and beverages are you putting into your body? Believe it or not, we are really what we eat and drink, and those foods and beverages can have a very huge impact on our ability to function physically, emotionally, mentally, and it really can have a big impact on being able to hear that internal voice, or the voice of our creator. So, first of all, are you getting enough nutrition? Fruits, vegetables, greens, protein? Are you getting enough water? On the other hand, are you eating a surplus amount of refined, artificial, synthetic, and processed foods? They enter our body as chemicals, and they can wreak havoc on the balance of our bodies. They can cause our hormones to go off balance, chemicals to alter the brain and the body, and they can cause disease to flourish. So, if this is your clutter issue, we recommend a reset. Try some fasting, some intermittent fasting, drink lots of water. And there are lots of things out there that can help you detox. And that's a huge thing. I know it's easier said than done, but we can focus more about this in the future as well.
Yes. The next one is sleep, and your diet can affect your sleep a lot too. So this goes right along with it. Me and my mom, if we both eat chocolate before bed, we can't sleep. We wired up. Or we sleep too hard that night. Um, so if you aren't getting enough sleep, then it can cause your mind to be overactive and full of busyness and clutter. So I think we all know that sleep is important, but it's important to understand why you're not sleeping good if you are having an issue with this. Is it because you aren't slimming down enough right before bed because you have lots of kids? Or is it because you just physically can't sleep? Do you suffer from insomnia? There really could be a myriad of reasons that you're struggling with that, caffeine intake, hormonal imbalance issues, stress, you name it. So like I mentioned, we have found that a change in our diet often helps, but also the meditation that we've talked about can make all the difference in sleep patterns. So if you still struggle with it after thinking about that kind of stuff, there's tons of things on the market that are natural remedies like herbs, herbal teas, herbs like ashwagandha and valerian root, and magnesium. I have to take my magnesium every night. Oh, wow.
Well, the last, and I think that sleep is a really good factor in helping us to think more clearly. But the last on the list is exercise. Yay! Movement's such a great thing, and our bodies are meant to move. If you aren't exercising and you can exercise, do it. It can calm the brain and clear out the clutter. And but if you're exercising too much and not getting enough rest, it can also clutter the brain and tire the body to the point of exhaustion. I guess the key here is moderation, but moving is a very important thing.
So I think that's it for this week. I think there's a lot of great info in there, maybe a lot. You may have to take some notes, but like we mentioned, just one step at a time. Hopefully you'll join us for next week. We're talking about something really exciting. And if you like what you heard today, make sure to like and subscribe and comment what you think about it. All right. We'll talk later. Bye.
Bye.